Well, hello and welcome. Today I have Nikki Fouere, and we just spent a magical 3 days in Glastonbury, England. Nikki lives in Paris, and I live in the U.S. in Georgia. So, welcome, Nikki. Hi.
Hey, Tammy, thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's always wonderful to see you, Nikki. And yes, so we planned this trip, and we went to Glastonbury. And I am looking at the pictures. I brought the pictures up this morning so that we could talk about some of the things we did. I mean, how did you feel in Glastonbury?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I had been hearing about Glastonbury for such a long time because when you're in this spiritual community, any spiritual community, you start at some point, you take these trips to places like Sedona, right? Which I know you've been to, as have I, Mount Shasta in California. There are these, they call them the earth chakras, these energy centers around the world. I guess the pyramids as well, which you've been to, right?
Right.
So I think that once you are practicing any kind of spirituality, I can speak for myself. There's a longing or desire not only to be with like-minded people, but also to go to these places where there's a connect, a real, I would say a physical connect with earth, and people talk about it. And I remember when I went to Sedona, I felt that the energy there, and you can actually see it when you look at the landscapes. You can see the trees, how their roots are twisted and the trees are leaning because the energy is so powerful there. And when I was in Sedona, I told you about that experience. I went to one of the vortices. It was the one with the chapel. I don't know which one it was called, but it was just a bike ride from where I was staying. And I sat down to meditate in that little chapel. And I thought I was just going to have my old regular meditation, and tears just started flowing like a river,
Uh,
and I just felt so intensely. And I think that was why I came. We are drawn to these energy centers. And so Glastonbury was another one of those. And it's also, and I know you, especially this summer, I mean, not this summer, but the spring during your trip, you also went to Avesbury and to
okay.
Stonehenge, right?
That's right.
And you can tell us about that, but I don't know if it, in comparison to Glastonbury, how it felt for you, but that was it. I had a yoga teacher who did all of her Kundalini training in Glastonbury, and I've just been hearing people talk about Glastonbury. So your question was, how did I feel while I was there?
Yes.
Well, it was a mixture of excitement to see you because we hadn't seen each other in like 9 months.
That's right.
So I was already in an elated state because I was so happy to be with my friend. And secondly, first of all, I want to say Glastonbury is very famous not only for it being a spiritual hubbub. So a lot of people are drawn there. And when you walk around the streets, you smell patchouli, right?
That's
Um,
right.
but also, it's also famous for its music festival. Now, the music festival is probably the worst time to go for me in any case, because you're not going there. You're going there for the music, and they have it's like a 4 or 5 day festival with it's thousands and thousands. I think like 10,000 people show up for that festival. So that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Glastonbury outside of that music festival. And we were there during the spring, and the high season, I guess, doesn't begin until like now in June, right? The festival's in June, and June, July, August, it's quite busy. So I think we were there at a really the perfect time because there weren't a lot of people there. There were hardly any tourists, right?
No, no.
And it's always funny because whenever I long to go to a place and it's been on the list and I finally get there, of course, you're filled with expectations, right? But I don't actually think I was. I certainly wasn't going there to fix anything or anything like that. but I just had this desire to go there. So once I got there, I was just in deep appreciation. That's how I felt. I felt in deep appreciation to be there, and it was very beautiful. And I think it was a really fun place to be. It wasn't fun in that it was packed with people and it was kind of crazy, because that wasn't the case. It was like every experience was unique. The people in the shops, we had these
Oh, they
incredible.
were magical, weren't they? And the whole place was magical for me.
It really was magical, and I think already going to a place like that, most of the time when we're walking around amidst all the, what do you call the regular people, the people that are more in 3D and, are probably not talking to their higher selves on a regular basis. There's always sort of a wall or a bubble. It's sort of like, I'm different, right? When you get there, you can talk about your spirit guides. You can talk about angels. If you want to meditate, there are plenty places to go. It's sort of like it's sudden. It's sort of like you go to a place where you can, I guess if you went to California, you could smoke pot. If you wanted to smoke pot, everywhere else it's illegal. It's sort of like when you go to Glastonbury, your spirituality has been legalized. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
I mean, that was actually what I felt like. It's a 5D city.
Yeah.
It's a place where, you can be yourself, and everyone there is authentic, and the food was fabulous. The restaurants were fabulous. I mean, and let's go back through some of the things we did. The first day we got there, we went to a pub, a
Yeah,
pub.
well, it was a Sunday, first of all.
Yeah, it was a
So a
Sunday.
lot of things were closed.
Uh-huh.
So, and we had wanted to go to this restaurant called the Queen of Scots, which is it's a Middle Eastern restaurant that's fabulous. But they were closed for food, but they had that blues jam session, right?
So I'm like, let's go over there.
Yeah, you're like, I want to do that. And sorry, it's windy out here. And so and then they had all these musicians playing music, and we stood up in the middle of the day. We were dancing, standing up, and there was just an energy about that place. And you could tell, like, those people are the regulars. See, I think the thing about Glastonbury is I could be mistaken, but I think there aren't more than 3 or 4,000 inhabitants most of the time. Then
Right.
summer comes along and it goes up to 10,000 or whatever. So these are the regulars. These are the locals that we were hanging out with. And that was cool. That was really cool. And then after that, we went to the pub and we had this fabulous thing. We had this fabulous dinner.
It was
And
great.
oh my gosh, it was so good. And they gave us baby plates. I mean, how accommodating is that? We're like, oh, we're not that hungry. And they said, we give you a kid plate. And it was so cheap. It was like 10 pounds, which is amazing I found Glastonbury to be very reasonable.
Yes, and it was, but the food was better there than any place in England. And so I'm saying it was like people just put their energy and their love into things. So in even that first day, it was just like magical. And we were walking back to the room, and we stayed in this really cute little place, and there was an eclipse. So it was like we're,
Yeah.
and we made friends with all these people, and they were waving at us for the next 3 days. Like, we're just there, and it's like a small town, and people know you, and you
Yeah.
can't
True.
not know who people are.
And
And
don't forget the karaoke bar.
oh yeah, the karaoke was fun. And we we would say that song didn't make it across the pond, but it was really great to hear all these different songs that we've
There was so
never.
much talent there. That's one of the things about places like that. It's sort of like Key
And
West. Lots of
yeah,
artists. People go there to be able to, what? Your creative expression is welcome. I would say the accountant is the minority in Glastonbury.
yes.
So the talent was amazing. There were really, really good singers. And I wouldn't necessarily say that It was very friendly, but people sat at our table and we'd start talking to them, and then they'd end up talking to us. You have to understand that English are reserved. Now, Glastonbury is in a place called Somerset, which could be equivalent to the county, okay? And it's 2 hours south, I think it's 2 hours south of London. But the English by nature are reserved, you know? So I think especially in a touristy place like that, you know, you would expect to be ignored, but that wasn't the case. People were actually kind, but you have to initiate. But Americans are it's pretty easy to initiate. I live in France. It's the same thing here. The French are super reserved, but if you initiate a conversation, they will open up, you know?
They, I, and it's funny, my experience when I travel is people are very welcoming and open and kind to me. and
That's your
that,
vibration. You're vibrating that open heart,
yeah. So
you know?
I'm not, I don't get the closed offness of the English. In fact, it's quite opposite for me. And it's funny that that seems to be the way that I travel. Is people help me. They do all kinds of things,
It's really a testimony to you know, your vibration and that the law of attraction. That's a testimony to the law of attraction, because it really is, you know, whatever you're emitting, if you're emitting judgment, then they pick up on it. People think that, you know, you say I'm fine and people believe you, but people really do. People are way more connected energetically than they think. You know what I mean? So because you've got an open heart and there's zero judgment when you go out into the world, whether you're in Georgia or in Europe, you probably have very similar experiences.
I do. People are just so kind to me, and if I can stop and look like I'm lost, and they just walk over and say, "Oh, may I help you?" And I'm just like, "Oh, thank you." So it is, and in Glastonbury, I just felt like, it just felt like home to me. I really got that feeling of a place that it was just beautiful, and all the art. And I'm kind of glancing through some of the pictures. We went to lots of temples and churches, and
Yeah.
there's every
The Mary Magdalene Sanctuary little church was special,
yes,
right?
there's every kind of church there.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, and that Mary Magdalene church, it's ancient, it's been there forever.
Yeah.
And you did ask me, did I do any research? I didn't do a lot of research about Glastonbury before I got there. But I feel like I did watch a video a few days ago, and it was about Jesus Christ. And Christ is rumored to have built Glastonbury. He
Well,
worked
you
there
know,
as a carpenter.
the very first church ever built was built in Glastonbury in like
Yes.
11 something, okay? And I think was it King, well, it wasn't Henry VIII, it was another English king actually had it destroyed when he was trying to introduce was it being Protestant? I can't remember exactly why, but remember we went and visited that abbey. The abbey that we visited, it was only in ruins because it had been destroyed.
Okay, that's one of the places. So we've got, lots of legendary people, but anyway, from the time that Jesus was 13 to 30, there's not a lot in the Bible about where he was. And
Yeah.
it's, and there are
Traveling.
theories.
He was getting
Yeah,
educated.
he was traveling and meeting gurus, and he supposedly went all over the UK, and Glastonbury was one of the places, and they found documentation that that the abbey was actually built by Jesus. He was one of the carpenters that worked there.
Oh my
And
God.
So when you move around, you're looking at, and then the blood of Christ was in the Chalice Well. So we went to the Chalice Well and we drank the water. That was hilarious, though.
Okay, that's a very funny story because first of all, we went off to visit the tour. The tour is the portal into the spiritual world, and it's the biggest landmark in Glastonbury. Everybody goes there. It's up on this hill, and the vibration's amazing up there. And underneath there are supposed to be tunnels and all kinds of things. And anyway, look it up, the tour in Glastonbury. It's definitely yeah, TOR. But in any case, so we first of all, the day before it had been cold and rainy, and I had carried around this thermos all day, but we never drank because we were cold the whole time. So then the next day when we're going to go visit the tour, I'm like, forget this water business. We didn't even drink yesterday. And the sun came out shining, and we were climbing up this massive hill, and we were so thirsty, and we didn't have a drop to drink. And we went like 3 hours without drinking from morning until 1 or 2 o'clock, whenever we got to that sanctuary where the Holy Grail has been supposedly buried, right? So then we find out, we pay our small fee. They give us a little bottle so we can collect some of this blessed water, the sacred water. And we go to the place where you fill it up, it's coming out of a lion's mouth. So I fill up the entire bottle. It's probably like 500 milliliters, half of a liter, whatever. And I take the bottle and I drink like half of it. I drink so much water because I was so thirsty. And then I hand it to Tami, and Tami drinks. I don't know if you drank as much as I did. And then like I look at the little pamphlet they give us when you get to the sanctuary. I hadn't done any reading, and it says a few drops will do. I drank so much I literally felt kind of ill because it's very potent. So I probably
There's a lot of iron in the water because it's actually got a red tint to it.
Yeah.
And but I thought that was funny too. I mean, we walked around in the pools and washed our feet, and it's just really peaceful place, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a very special place. I believe it's called the Chalice Sanctuary. Is that it?
Yes, that's it.
That's definitely a must on the list for Glastonbury.
It is.
Very special place. I think
now when I climbed the tour, I mean, I felt it. I mean, the wind, it was windy. It was sunny. A drum circle formed. There were people meditating everywhere. And now when I lay down on that, I really felt like this golden energy just flood through my body. That place really affected me. And as far as of all the places that I've ever been, and I've been to a lot of spiritual places, that one was the most powerful. So it is said that it is the heart of Mother Earth. So there's something magical about the energy of not just the tour, but the entire town and all the area. So we, going on, like we shopped a lot, and we went to all these fabulous sanctuaries. They're little places within the town. And then we went into a shop, and I remember I just kept getting messages about Merlin all day long. And it was funny because we walked in a shop, and the guy's like, "Oh, you need to go get a hug from Merlin." And then he says, "Well, Merlin stands in front of the Abbey every day." And we'd been to the Abbey twice. So we
hadn't seen him.
We had not seen him. So we said, "Oh, Merlin's at the Abbey. Well, we'll go back again." So we go down there, and he gives hugs, and he does these ruins readings. So you got your ruin reading from him. And I just remember him holding on to me. Like, he hugged me and he kept holding my hand, and he didn't let me go. But I got like 6 messages about Merlin that day. So I got a hug, and then my son, I get this random text from my son, who's an adult, and it says, "We're descendants of Merlin." Like, I don't know why all this Merlin stuff. And then you said, well, I really felt Merlin's presence, but
Mm.
King Arthur, Merlin, all of that is really, I mean, you can feel the presence of these.
It's true. When we were meditating up on the tour is when I felt it. What's really funny is, so this guy wears like the Merlin hat and the gown that's the, you know, beautiful royal blue with gold, and he's totally decked out. So I walk up to him being the very typically Nikki, and I said, "So what's your name?" And he said, "My name's Merlin."
And you said, of course.
And I said, "Of course it is." And he was great, you know. He was telling us about his life, and yeah, my rune reading was it was, you know, it was positive. It wasn't anything profound, you know. I actually looked him up after our experience in Glastonbury, and he did a podcast. Somebody interviewed him on a podcast. So if you want to find out about Merlin from Glastonbury that like plants himself in front of the Abbey, you can actually see him on YouTube. But I found him to be a very sincere person.
He was.
Yeah. It
Yes.
wasn't like, in these kind of places you expect to be you expect some people to be there to like make the money, right? To make the money off these woo-woo people or whatever. But I really didn't get that from him.
No, he was doing workshops on being a druid. I mean, he explained to us he is a druid,
Yeah.
and he embodies the energy of Merlin. And anyway, he was one of the interesting characters we met there. And I thought it was funny, like, we kept getting messages, go see Merlin. And we went to see Merlin. And then we went back by and we got a hug. And we visited the Abbey. So, what did you think of the Abbey? The Abbey was, like you said, it was destroyed, but
You know what I liked about the Abbey the most?
What?
The trees.
The trees.
Do you remember?
Weren't they? And they had a message, and you read the message, and it was like, so we sat under the trees. We picked our favorite tree.
Yeah, we hugged those trees. There's just something very ancient about that place. And those trees are ancient. They're old trees. King Arthur, King Arthur and Guinevere. So this is the land of all of these legends, right? And King Arthur was actually buried on the grounds of the Abbey.
Mhm.
And he was deterred. So they dug him up along with Guinevere. And I don't know where he is now, but you can see when you walk around the ruins where his grave was found. So yeah, all these places it was like a combination of everything. It was for example, that shop where you bought the wand, the magic wand.
Oh, yes, that's right. Tell us about that shop.
Okay, so that shop was wonderful. Is this going to be an audio or video?
I don't know.
Okay, well, it's too bad people can't see that beautiful wand. Can you
Well,
describe?
I think I'm going to start making videos of some of these because really, I would love for them to see these fun people. But yes, I love this wand. I fell in love with it.
Yeah, it's got feathers and beautiful stones, and it's very pretty. So we walked into this shop, and they had all kinds of things for sale there that were beautiful. And they had a back room, and when you walk in the back room, you can hear water. So there's a little waterfall, and there's a table with oracle cards, and you're invited to sit down, and you can spray this incredible spray, which is called Wildwood. And I believe the name of the shop was Wildwood. And it's an energy spray that you actually do. I don't know if you read this, but you're supposed to spray it above your ethereal field, right? So that it goes down energetically all over your energy fields. And so you're invited to spray this energy spray, and then to collect yourself quietly. And when you're ready, you do your own reading. And And after the reading, I don't know, I just felt really special in this shop. I felt really peaceful. And then I was smelling, I had a little sample of some scent that I had picked up in another shop, and the lady who was at the desk said, "Oh, what are you smelling?" And I talked about my scent. And then remember, she told us how she uses scents to connect with the different fairies,
Oh,
because
yes.
this line of perfume is inspired by all the women of the lake, right? So
Uh-huh.
there were all the different fairies, Morgan Le Fay and different fairies. And I got, which one did I get? I got Maeve, the fairy Maeve, and I actually think I have the card still. And this scent, you know what? I have perfume that I have expensive perfumes because it's one of the things I really love. And I have perfumes that aren't expensive, but this perfume was only 28 pounds, which is about 32 or $33. And I wear it every day. And I'll just say what the her name is Mab, Mabh. I may be pronouncing that wrong, but here's the little card that came with the perfume. Do you hear me whisper in your ear? Secret things that only you and I know. I hold the magic of glamour and allure with sweet illusions of the mist and moss and trees that smile secrets in the wild wood places where mushrooms come and pixies sit and wait whilst I enchant your veiled desire. So
Oh,
this fae in particular is wrapped around mystery and sensuality and desire. And so her name is Mabh, Mabh, and she's a fairy. And then the lady at the counter was saying, and I believe it's her shop. So the shop owner, she was saying that she wears 2 or 3 of these. It depends on the day, whatever she needs to, like, according to her day, if she needs to tap into strength, she might go for Guinevere, for example. So she might put on Guinevere. But each one of these scents comes with the qualities of the fairy within them. And for example, we're not selling anything, by the way, but this was our experience in this shop, which sort of opened up for me, a whole new arena of exploration around like things to really get, I would say tools or accessories to allow you to step into whatever you need to, whether you need to be powerful or whether you want to be seductive or whether you need courage. And so each of these sprays represents some of these qualities. And even that wildwood spray that was at the back of the shop, it's this spray was created using water that was blessed, but also with crystals. I don't know if you read that, but in the back it
yeah.
says that. So, there are so many new modalities and ways that we can connect to augment our vibration and be able to step into more potential of 5D and, more liberty, more freedom. But the idea of putting on a different sense to connect with fays. Now, another word for a fae is a fairy. And
Yes.
I did this, I told you that I did this past life workshop, and it was 5 days of exploring past lives. And in this workshop, I already knew how to do it in a regression way, but in this workshop, we actually, the man that created this workshop and this new way of exploring your past lives, you go directly in. There's no like ceremony or ritual or regression or hypnotherapy or anything. And during one of our workshops, there was a fairy that was that he did he wanted us to go into the elementals, and one of the girls was a fairy, and so he had a dialogue with her as a fairy. And it was such an interesting conversation because I didn't even know if I believed in fairies, and here we were talking to one, right? And I'm gonna close this because my husband is in the other room talking loudly as usual. Anyway, and so we were he was the guy who was leading this workshop was talking to this fairy, and he said, do you have much contact with humans? And the fairy answered, no, not at all. And then he said, well, what's your job as a fairy? And she said, it was a she, because she said, my job is to spread love to all the flowers.
Oh, what a beautiful job. Oh,
And you know what? I went into a past life, because after that we all did we worked in twos, and I accessed one of my lives as now let me think of it. It's a lutein, I guess. It's so it I my job, I was in charge of like all the little animals that live in the trees, not animals, but like insects and things, to make sure that everyone had everything. So I'm sort of watching the trees, and I took my job very seriously, and I would go up and down the trees checking on, make sure the ants and all the other insects and all the wildlife that lived in the trees, if they were okay. But I'll tell you what, the energy of the elementals, whether they be fairies or gnomes or luteins or whatever, it's a very light energy. It's very, very, it's special, and I don't know, a lot of people don't even believe in them, but I'll tell you, that's the kind of experience you can have in Glastonbury. You
it's
walk into a shop and your eyes are opened to a whole new world.
yes, and that is something that the smells, and I just really fell in love with the perfume, and I took one spray of that wildwood spray, and I mean, that's a powerful spray, and you
Yeah.
just spray it over you, and I just fell in love with it.
Oh, me
But
too. I put it on every day.
I just spray it every day in my house, just, and it's made with the energy. So it's like bringing in the energy of Glastonbury
It
and
is.
enjoy. And it floods me with all these feelings of greatness. I mean, the great energy there. And you can just take it with you everywhere you go.
Everywhere you go. And I feel like it grounds me. If I'm feeling rather hurried, or like my energy is sort of all over the place, well, the first thing I'll do probably is take off my shoes and go outside and walk in nature. I have a garden, so I can walk out there, or take a shower. That's another way to do it. But this spray, I really like it. And if anybody's interested, they could probably contact you. But I think I don't know, but I think they would probably mail it. I know for the Fae perfumes that they mail them around the world. But that's the thing about Glastonbury. There's no place else in the world. I didn't even find that in Sedona. I found Sedona a bit more commercialized, but
Yes.
then again, I was there during the summer, and it was probably a touristy time. I don't know. I found Glastonbury to not be and also not be very, very commercialized, and it's also very small. So Glastonbury is like 3 streets.
Yes. And all the shops they're
On that
just
one
like
main street.
all the people in the shops, there's little places you can get tea. We had lots of snacks, and I mean, it's just a really beautiful place. It's very authentic.
Yeah.
It's kind of like stepping back in time.
It's
in
true. It's true. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. I mean, already you are stepping back in time. If you're leaving America and going to Europe, you're already stepping back in time. And I'm not saying that we're not we're not a third world, continent or whatever, but things are slower over here, Um, and like that town where we went into that grocery store. I could have spent 2 hours in the grocery store. Remember that good bread we got?
We did. We
Oh,
just got all kinds of stuff. I mean, and the springtime was a really great time to be there too. The weather was so nice. It was chilly, but when you were out walking, it was comfortable. And so, we loved the place we stayed. We loved all the energy of the people. Um, and I just really felt like it was a magical place. And that's not like, I've been many, many places in my life, but I felt like magic everywhere was magical. Yeah. Fairies, wands, the
yeah.
shops, the food, the people that we interacted with. And I could have stayed longer, 3 days seemed like it went by
Almost
really
too short,
fast.
yeah. It was almost too short, yeah.
And we did some meditations on the tour. That was great. But just laying there was just powerful.
Remember we walked into this place and I can't remember the name of it, but it was something like Temple of the Goddess or something.
Uh-huh.
And you just walk, you follow the signs, you walk up the stairs, you go inside, and there was a place you take off your shoes and you can sit and meditate. There were different circles where you could sit and meditate. There was a place where you could pray for somebody or give something up that you didn't want to hold on to for the day. You write it on a piece of paper and you put it on a prayer board. I mean, stuff like that. That just is so, it's how we'd really want to live every day, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, can you imagine living nearby? If you just wanted to, you could go there for the day, or I don't know. Everywhere you turn, you saw different things. Remember we ran into that guy that was, I think he was American, but he was teaching some sort of ancient Hawaiian stuff.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Remember?
I don't remember his last name, but yeah, he had a really positive energy too. You just
Yeah.
run into people all over, and there are workshops there all the time. You can
And some
research.
of the stuff was free, like meditation groups. You get together, it's marked, every Wednesday at 7:30 meditation and stuff like that. I mean, I just feel like it wasn't commercialized. There was a beautiful energy there, and I think it's really a place to go to I don't know, to get centered, I guess, and also um to explore, to feel, you know what it is? You go there, you feel like you're with like-minded people, but you don't have to be with anybody.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a place of connection, high connection, connection to the nature, the earth, the trees, the sheep. Their sheep are running around in the field around the tour. I mean, it's authentic England. It's not, there are not lots of buildings and houses. It's more, a small community in the
Yeah.
way that the way that people interacted there seemed very loving and kind.
Yeah,
So
it's true.
yeah, I just
Hey,
felt uh I felt fulfilled there. I'm saying it seems like everyone had this like compassion and fulfillment and peaceful energy that we encountered while
yeah.
we were there.
Well, then again, it's probably the law of attraction at work. But tell me, how did that visit compare with Avesbury? So first of all,
Um
tell everybody what Avesbury is. Because most
Ace,
people know about Stonehenge, but I
yeah,
had not heard of it.
yeah, Aysbury is the largest stone circle in England, and in the middle of it is a little town they built, but it's kind of old England too, so it's been there a while. But in the stones, okay, it's Stonehenge is circled off, and you can only go into the stones and touch them during sacred ceremonies, like winter solstice. So they only open it up certain times of the year, and it's beautiful. And I went there, but you're just basically looking at the stones. And and it was a very high energy day that I was there too. The wind was blowing, and so then also the at Avebury, you can walk amongst the stones, and each stone has a purpose. So you know you can touch the stones, you can feel the energy of them, and it's in the middle of there's sheep fields all around. So it's that's how Stonehenge is too. So you're in the middle of a giant farm, so it's peaceful and quiet, but there are lots and lots of people at Stonehenge, but not at Avebury. It's not quite as touristy. So, but my girlfriend, she goes to England. Her in-laws live there, and she was the one that told me about it. She's like, "Oh, go to Avebury because it is a place that you can, just play in the stones and feel the energy." So they're
What about
not.
the town?
It's got a couple of little shops and a restaurant, but it's small.
And
It's
so
very
was it anything like Glastonbury?
um no. I'm saying there are only it's not a real town. I'm saying it's a very, very, I mean, it would be like a little small piece of Glastonbury. So
Okay.
there's one restaurant and just a couple, 5 shops. So they built this little, it's a mini town. That's what I'll say.
Okay.
But, the people were there. I mean, everyone there was really nice. And I ate at the restaurant and then I played outside in the stones. And, but the stones are spread out. In Stonehenge, they're close together, but
Okay.
they're circular, and but there's like several different circles, so you can
Mhm.
just wander on, and they go on, and you can just touch each stone. You can set an intention, and feel the energy of each stone.
Okay.
So I mean, it was really an interesting place. So I
Because
mean,
I
I
think
enjoyed it.
really if people are going to go all the way to Glastonbury from wherever, like I have a friend who lives in out just near Heathrow, and she's in the spiritual community, and she's never been. Like, people don't know about this place, but if you go to Glastonbury, you could definitely do Avesbury, because it's what, about an hour from there, or 2 hours? I know
Yeah,
Stonehenge is a bit closer.
yeah. It's not really far. And they don't really completely know the purpose of Avebury. It is a there are theories about Stonehenge that, and because they're not that far apart as far
Yeah,
as
yeah,
distance,
yeah.
and some of the other hinges were made of wood, like those were for the living, and then there's some for the dead, some for the living. So anyway, each one has a different theory. And I just know that I mean, I really felt the energy of the whole place. uh Actually, there was like a gale force storm that day, and Stonehenge was closed for 2 hours the day that I went. So everywhere that I went, there were gale force winds in Iceland and in England. And when I got home, and I was
Well,
telling her,
you're the one who decided to go to Europe and go to Iceland. You went to Iceland, right?
I did.
In just, not even spring. I think you were there in March, right? You were in, or early
No, it was
April.
April.
Okay, yeah, well, it really doesn't
And
start warming up until like May. Now we've had some nice weather, but England's a bit cooler than France. But yeah, it was a nice change for you though, living in Georgia.
I love the springtime, and I love the energy. I even enjoyed the cold weather because, it's hot a lot of the times in
Yeah,
Georgia. So,
yeah,
for me, Iceland seemed to be like a cleansing energy, even though it was cold and windy. We took a lot of baths.
yeah.
We went to the geothermal pools, but then I left there and went to the hustle and bustle of London. And but the last place I ended up was in Glastonbury, and it was just a easy, we just shopped and played and drank the water from the Chalice Well and laughed and danced. I mean,
Yeah,
we
we
just
did.
had
We sang, we danced, we laughed, we meditated, we did visualizations, we shopped. We had a very round experience.
it
It's a
was,
great place to go with a girlfriend or with a group of friends, I think.
I think so too.
you
I think
know?
so.
So now we have to
Yes,
think about our next trip.
that's right. We have to do something magical again. How are we ever going to top Glastonbury?
You know what? It'll just be different.
That's right. That's
So
right.
we're open to suggestions. I'd kind of like to check out Mount Shasta. I've never been. Have you been?
No, I have not.
Mount Shasta is supposed to be another powerful place to visit. I mean, you've really hit the top ones though. You've been to Egypt, you've been to the pyramids, for goodness sakes.
Yes, I don't know. I just go where I'm called to go, but sacred places just call me in. And I
Yes,
think,
places,
if
yeah.
you really are interested in England, and I did go all over the UK. So I went to Scotland, Wales, and I saw some magical places there too. But the entire country is just got a lot of history and
Mm.
interesting things. And I felt like I was in university when I was on the other tour because I did a 9-day tour. And I
Yeah,
felt like, I was learning all the
yeah,
things that I learned in university, and it was just bringing it back.
yeah,
So it has it each destination has a different energy and a different vibe.
yeah.
And of course, I just loved Glastonbury, but I think I loved it so much because you were there with me, and I adore you, Nikki.
I adore you too. You know, it's sort of like it actually makes one think. It's like I think my belief before was that places were just places that you visit, but I didn't think about the energy of the place. And I think, I've been focused on my energy as having a human experience. And then I did this past life work where I explored like my life as a horse and other things. And it felt so different to be a horse. There wasn't that mental chatter anymore. It was just, I was connected to the elements, the wind, the water, and all those things. And we really are multidimensional. Um, so to be able to explore a place like Glastonbury and to realize that, yes, people are like, I maintain my vibration no matter what, even though, my husband's in a bad mood or this kind of thing. But no, we are affected. And I think that's true. We're responsible for our vibration, but we are affected by other people, but we're also influenced by locations where we are
Yes.
on Gaia, on Mother Earth, because there are places that can really move you
Oh,
and allow you to step into a more authentic version of yourself. It's
yeah.
just so
And
easy there.
you did two regressions on me,
Oh
past
yeah.
life regressions. And one of them was Aya. And I just had this sense like I was there in somewhere that I visited while I was there. I'm thinking Scotland or maybe or England. I don't know. But
That first life,
yes,
what you were
but
a
I
seer.
got the message that, it was like she embodied Gaia
Wow.
after I got home. So it wasn't just like she was a naturist and
Yeah.
and so I thrive in nature outside.
And
And
I love hearing that because these a lot of so many things we and I say we because I believe that we live, we have a soul and that we just keep doing it again and again and having these experiences either on Earth or on other planets. But a lot of these things we've lost, like our connection to nature. I think that's how we ended up polluting and destroying a lot of things, and now we're starting to get it back. And a trip to Glastonbury would be a good way to reconnect with nature as well.
that is true because we
Yeah.
did spend a lot of time walking. We walked about 5 miles a day,
Oh, yeah.
and we would
And
walk
you've
to
got all the
town.
elements. You've got the wind, you've got the rain, you've got the sun, you've got
We had
everything.
all the elements, didn't we?
It's intense. It's intense. And there's also something to be said about being out of your normal routine. Our senses are heightened. We're more observant. We're more aware. We're not in our little security blanket behind the wheel. You know what I mean? Where you tune out because you know everything. So when you change your environment, you also become tuned into everything in a deeper way because it's unfamiliar.
Doing
So
new things is really good for your brain.
yeah,
And that means, in traveling, going to new places, trying new foods, all that, just it'll reset your whole vibration.
absolutely.
Yeah, I felt complete, and I really enjoyed my days with you because we were active, but yet we were not, it wasn't any kind of stressful
No, it was easy going. It was
planned. We just went with the flow. And I think going with the flow of life is really what we're supposed to be doing and
following
loving.
inspiration, right?
Yes.
Of
Hmm.
course, we had some ideas. We knew we wanted to hit a couple of places, but there was a lot of inspiration going on.
Yeah, we just got up and did what we were inspired to do. We
Yeah.
ate well. We enjoyed everything about.
Slept really well as well,
I know.
which makes a whole big difference.
Well, you didn't sleep the last night, but
I
very well.
didn't.
You were
I
hot.
That's
Don't
what
turn on
they
too much
say.
heat.
That's what they say.
That's what they say. Well, okay.
Anyway, thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you. And I appreciate it. And you have a great day.
You too, Tammy. Lovely to see you again.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Assign a new host. No. Okay. You have
Have you stopped the recording?
oh, I thought I did. Maybe I didn't. It's okay. I can cut it
You're
off.
gonna have to edit that then. All right, listen, I have to go. I have to work.